Welcome to the Greyhawk DJC podcast. In today's podcast, we speak with Dustin Collins, the owner of Two Birds Paving. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey, Dustin, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
All right, it's a pleasure to meet you, learn your story and stuff. But tell us about, so you're the owner of Two Birds Paving.
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell us about Two Birds Paving. What do y'all do? What kind of services you offer?
Sure. So we're a commercial, primarily commercial and residential paving repair company.
Mm-hmm.
So potholes, we do both concrete and asphalt. So our main focus is commercial shopping centers, business, parking lots, industrial centers. So, warehouses, docking stations. That's typically where we focus our attention on.
Mm-hmm.
So, anytime you've got a pothole forming in, a pothole forming in a drive lane, we'll come in and fix it.
Okay. Do you ever work with like municipalities to help with the roads and the streets, or is it mostly private?
Sure. We focus mainly on commercial.
Mm-hmm.
We do work with municipalities. We tend to steer away from them mainly just because of the there's a lot of red tape that goes into that.
Right.
And my background has been really focused in on dealing with property managers and learning how they work and solving their problems. So that's been my focus when starting this company.
Okay. And what's the most common issues that properties have usually when they call you?
Mainly it's just they get a pothole in their drive lane. The concrete starts to fill or the asphalt starts to fill, which is pretty common here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The soils in Texas like to shift on us, and the concrete or asphalt's only as good as what it's sitting on. And
right.
So when you get some shifting in that subgrade, it causes the concrete or asphalt to fill, and that causes major liabilities to our clients. And so
Right.
they really need to get those things fixed, and so that's what we're here for.
Is there a common mistake in maintenance or something that a lot of property owners don't do that causes them to have to use your services more often, I guess? Or?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I see is just putting things off for too long.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll see a minor pothole where it's just a crack, or a panel might be cracking, but there's not a lot of movement in it. And then the next year it starts to become a pothole, and they put it off for another year, and then they start seeing rebar coming up through the concrete, and then it's a liability. Well, that liability's gotten larger and larger over those few years,
mm-hmm.
whereas if we could have addressed it early on, it would have been lower cost, lower impact to their tenants and everything like that. So I think yearly maintenance is really primarily what most property managers miss, is
mm-hmm.
just focusing on getting something done every year.
Okay. And you guys do offer like a maintenance package too, I guess, right?
Yeah. So what we offer mainly is that we'll go out and scope our client's entire portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my clients will have anywhere from 5 to 30 properties that they manage. And so they don't always have the opportunity to go out there and assess every single property and say, oh, we need to fix this area and fix this area. Nor do they have the experience or wherewithal to know how critical one issue is over another. So that's kind of where I got the name Two Birds Paving, is that we're not just there to fix the concrete or asphalt, but I'm there to build a relationship and the trust that, hey, I can go out here and I can assess your properties for you, and let you know, like, not only what you need to fix and how to fix it, but what cost is going to be involved in that.
Right.
And that allows our property managers and owners to, kind of game plan for the following year and kind of budget for it, knowing that, okay, these things are needing to be fixed, and we can plan ahead for next year or later in this year to have those things fixed.
Sure. And if, like the pavement is not well, and there's a lot of potholes or whatever, not only does it not look well, but can they get like sued or something by people who run over the potholes or use it, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the major concern is the liabilities, especially when you have like rebar sticking out of concrete and you're having people drive over it.
Right.
Say it rains, the pothole gets filled with water. People they just think it's a pool of water. They drive through it. The rebar sticks to their tire, and now they have a flat tire. They're going to go to the property manager and say, hey, this is an issue that you should have resolved, and now you need to pay for my vehicle to get repaired.
Right.
We also deal with a lot of ADA compliance issues, so accessible ramps and handicap signs and those issues as well. A lot of properties are grandfathered in, but when you have a lot of people that may be accessing that building that need those ramps and stuff, knowing that, hey, this is what you need to do in order to get up to that compliance, that's another major issue that property managers don't always think about. It's kind of an afterthought until they get a letter in the mail saying, hey, your ramp wasn't compliant. I wasn't able to get up it in my wheelchair. Here's a lawsuit. And then it's a race to get it fixed and show the courts that, hey, we're doing everything in our power to fix this issue and resolve it.
And so that includes all the signage for ADA, spaces for parking and all that stuff, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So every property has a set number of parking spaces.
Is that based upon the size of the lot, or is it to have a minimum number?
Yeah, typically it's based off the occupancy of the building.
Oh, okay.
Will dictate the number of spaces that are needed for that. And then due to the number of spaces that are needed, you have to have a certain number of handicap parking for that building.
Okay.
And so that includes a handicap space and then a accessible area where they can exit their vehicle and access, whether it's a ramp or just a gradient which is within compliance that allows them to enter the building. Whether
is there a distance requirement too from the building to the space?
Yes and no.
Okay.
As long as there's some gray areas there because so many buildings are different. Right. They want you to have those things centrally located at the building. So the closest possible space to the entrance of a building, they want those. So you'll see that a lot when you go into any shopping center. Typically the ADA spacing is up front and center and as close to the building as you can get it. And so that's a critical component of it.
And are there any rules around like parking lot stripes and stuff, or because I see a lot of them faded, right?
Sure.
Sometimes you can't even see them.
Right.
Are there rules around that they have to be, distinct and visible, or is that something people just kind of let go a lot?
Well, yeah, I mean that really goes into city by city.
Okay.
A lot of cities are more lenient. You get out into some of the more rural areas where you don't have the city's not putting their eyes on it as much. So a lot of those things get more lax. Fire lanes are really the main critical issue.
Okay.
So
what are fire lanes again?
The fire lanes are the red striping that dictates where a fire truck needs accessibility.
I see.
So that they can get close enough to the building to access it in case of a fire. So you'll see as you go down a drive lane, the red striping that says no parking, fire lane. Those are critical in almost all cities and towns. I mean, you have to have them. And then along with that is they have certain requirements in those drive lanes that may be more thicker concrete, or their standards are a little bit more elevated than a typical parking space might be, because they're having to have a larger vehicle like a fire truck, access it. They want to make sure that if they pull an 85,000-pound truck onto a drive lane, that it's not going to fall through the concrete and get stuck. So, yeah, absolutely.
I see. And then, do builders ever call you guys to come and build the parking lot as a subcontractor, or is that something that they would do and then you come in and fix it if something ever happens to it?
Yeah, so we've done ground up as well. So typically we focus mainly on remodels.
Okay.
When you do a ground up project, there's usually a GC involved.
What's a GC? Or
general contractor.
Okay. Right.
And the general contractor, they're involved in the entire project.
Okay.
So whether that's the building itself, the HVAC, which is heating and air conditioning, all the plumbing, all of that stuff, the building slab, we don't do any building slabs or foundations. We're strictly parking lot, sidewalks. That's our niche, our focus. So new ground up, typically we are willing to do the parking lot, but on projects like that, the people that are doing the foundation concrete usually do the parking lot as well.
I see.
Now, I do have projects that I'm doing later this year where they're completely revamping the building as well as the parking lot. So there is a general contractor that is handling all of the building stuff, and I'm handling all the parking lot stuff.
I see.
So we get involved in that. So mainly repair, remodel is our niche.
Right. So let's go kind of back in time.
Okay.
And then see how you got started. So where did you get all the experience and know-how to feel like you were ready to start your own paving company?
Sure. Yeah, that's going a long way back.
Okay.
I've been in construction as long as I can remember. My dad's owned his own construction company when I was a young kid. And, he was a carpenter, and at age 13, I was on job sites picking up trash and hauling things around. So I've always kind of been in and around construction sites. I didn't think that that's where I wanted my life to go, but it slowly led that way.
Sure. What were your dreams as a kid, by the way?
I wasn't really sure. I saw the work ethic that my dad had in the construction industry, and I saw how hard that work was on a daily basis for him. And I was thinking more along the lines of just sales.
Right.
I have a natural tendency to build relationships with people and communicate. And so that I remember going door to door when I was a kid, selling, the books that you get from the school, and the coupon books or whatever. And
Sure.
I did a good job at that. And I thought, well, I might, excel at that. But later on in high school, I was on the wrestling team. My senior year, a freshman came in that was on the wrestling team, and kind of took him under my wing, and kind of showed him how to, he became a very good wrestler. And his father actually worked for an engineering company that tested concrete and asphalt. And so when I graduated high school, he offered me a job. And so I got certified in ACI, which is American Concrete Institute, testing concrete and then asphalt. And
was that a hard process to get certified?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was hard. It was just, a lot of studying, a lot
Okay.
of just understanding different components and different mixes and why, some things are put in concrete for certain reasons and different rolling patterns for asphalt, and just give me a real good base knowledge of the industry as far as like the testing side, the engineering aspects of it, and the why as to what we're trying to accomplish with concrete.
Okay.
Why we put rebar in concrete, and why you use this size rebar instead of this size rebar in certain situations. And so I did that for 10 years and really loved it. But, I started to see that there was a kind of a limitation there. So I ended up going to college, working on my engineering degree.
And this is 10 years after you're out of high school.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was
Okay.
probably about 6 or 7
Okay.
years. Yeah, I decided, okay, well, I've kind of hit the limit here on what I can do as an engineer technician. So let's see about being an engineer. So I went to school, got an associate's in science and engineering, and then shortly after that, I was still going to school to finish my engineering degree. I got an offer to come work for a construction company doing what I do now, which is paving repairs.
Okay.
And it was one of those moments in life where two roads were diverging, and I chose to go down that road, and that's kind of what led me to the point I'm at now.
Okay.
Worked for that company for a couple of years, realized the morals and the ethics of the owner weren't really in line with what I thought morals and ethics should be aligned with.
Okay.
And so that led me to looking elsewhere, and then I got hired on with a company I ended up working 10 years for.
Okay.
And great company.
This is also a construction paving company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yep, doing the same thing I'm doing now.
So you're managing projects at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm assessing properties, so measuring the potholes, finding the solutions to how to fix it, drainage issues, all learning my way in the industry. Did that for 10 years. Worked my way up all the way up to senior account manager. Had a few people underneath me, kind of showing them how to do that, and yeah, I loved it. I was enjoying every moment of it, and then the owner, who I had great admiration and respect for, decided he was going to sell his company, as will happen when you get up there in age, and he ended up selling it to a national company. And that national company came in and do what national companies do, which is fire some of the head guys that kind of made the company feel like a family, and sort of changing the way everything was working. And so that kind of gave me a clue of where things were going, and kind of made me think back to the first company I worked with hey, these morals and these values aren't really aligning with where I want to be, morally and ethically. And so I tried out another company for a few months and realized that there's the same issues I was finding there, that money and profit seemed to be more important to them than relationships with clients. And,
Right.
And so I decided if I was going to make a change, I needed to do it on my own and build these relationships and look after my clients first and foremost. So,
Had you always thought about starting your own business as you were growing up?
No. In fact, it was a hard decision to make. I had seen my dad struggle on and off throughout the years as he owned his own company, and just the stress and the worries that he came home with daily. But I was at that point, I realized that there wasn't really another option. If it was going to be done right, I had to do it.
Right, right.
And that was the underlying driving force that made me make the decision. And so, talking with the wife and praying about it, it seemed like the only logical way to go was to start it on my own.
So what did you do to start the process? Like, how'd you raise your funding? Take us through what that process was like for you.
Sure. So, a lot of what I based it off of was the relationships that I had built over the years. 10, 11 years in the industry, or 12 years in the industry, you have these clients that really trust you. And that's what motivated me to think that I had the ability to go out on my own and keep those relationships and build upon them. And so that gave me some confidence that I could do it. Now, starting your own business comes with a lot of what ifs and how to's, especially on the finance side of it. And financially, I've got wife and 4 kids. So financially, it was definitely a wall that I had to find a way over. And so my wife and I, we refinanced the house, pulled some money out of the equity we had in the house. A friend of mine loaned us some money, and we used that, which was right around about $100,000 that we were able to pull together, and that's what we did to get it off the ground.
I see. Okay.
And
so you took a huge risk here. I mean,
it was biggest risk I've taken in my life.
Right. But at least you had the knowledge that you did have a good client base to call upon for your first set of jobs, right? Because you had those relationships, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was what I was kind of hanging my hat on. Okay. Is that I knew that I had built these relationships, and I'd gained the respect and trust of these people, and I knew I can continue to do that with more and more people.
Okay.
And working for the other companies, I realized I was losing some of that with some of my clients, as some jobs weren't being done the way they were sold as, and corners were being cut, and profit was taking precedent. I realized that if I wanted to maintain those relationships with the clients that I've spent over a decade building, I needed to do it on my own.
Right.
And so that's where my focus was, is like, let's do it, and let's bring them along with me. And so far they have been there right with me. So
how was your first actual Two Birds paving job like? Can you take us through what that felt like? This is your first official job. I'm not an employee anymore. I'm a business owner. What'd that feel like, I guess?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's one of those things where, it wasn't a huge job, but it made me feel like, okay, I'm on the right path.
Right. Okay.
And it was one of the clients that I had built this relationship with. And in fact, when I sent out the emails to my clients saying, hey, I've started my own thing, any help you guys can provide, any bits you guys need, let me know. And this particular client, reached out to me, and she said, I'm so excited that you went out on your own. Come take a look at this property for me. And went and gave her a bid on it, and within a week she sent back the signed proposal, and it was just like, okay, I can do this.
Right.
Like a lot of the weight, of like, okay, is this really going to work? Kind of like floated away for a few days.
Right. How long was the time period between when you first started and that first gig came in? Yeah.
It was within a month.
Okay, but
So
you still
a few
had
weeks.
like a few weeks to kind of contemplate if you made the right decision or not, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There was definitely hundreds of emails going out and a lot of crickets coming back.
Oh my God. Yeah.
and you start to question whether, well, maybe it's just because it's a new email address and they're not recognizing it's me, and then so you're leaving voicemails and
Right.
and you're following up with people, and then it's slowly but surely your clients are, oh, I'm sorry, I've been so busy, just haven't been able to get back to you. Yes, please, help us
Right.
out. Here's some leads to run.
And it's that weird gray area between, am I bothering them too much, or should I push a little harder to get their attention? That's always that weird nebulous thing, right?
Yeah, that goes back to the relationships with your clients. Is I've never been a car salesman,
Mm-hmm.
and when I've looked at those type of people that are like pushy and like, hey, well, what's your answer? Hey, what how can I get a yes here? And I've never been that person.
Right.
I'm always been a solution oriented person. Like here's your problem. Here's how I can solve it for you. And this is what it's going to cost to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that earns trust from people when you're honest, sincere, and all my clients that use me repetitively, they know that if I do the job, it's going to be done right. It's going to be done. I'm not doing it for profit. I mean, I'm making a profit, but I'm not trying to just, oversell them and like sell them on one thing, but really give them another product,
Mm-hmm.
which I was seeing happen and more in the industry is that, hey, we're going to sell you on 6-inch concrete, but we're going to set it up at 5-inch concrete. And
Really?
pour it at 5-inch concrete. Yes.
That black and white. I mean, that's
black and white. And so when you start seeing those things, it's like, I don't want to do that.
right. And the client can't tell because they don't know anything about it.
Typically not. Our clients are so busy because they're not just worried about their parking lots. These property managers have the entire property to worry about. They've got their tenants issues to deal with. They've got air conditioning systems to deal with. They've got roof leaks that they have to deal with, sprinkler systems that are not working. They got to worry about their landscaping. Their flowers are dying. Their trees are dying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's countless times I've walked a property with a client to look at the concrete, and she's snapping pictures of all these other issues she's dealing with. And so they don't have the time to go out there and double check and make sure that the person they hired is actually doing what they hired them to do.
Right.
And so that's the most important thing to me, is that my clients can trust me, and that when I give them a proposal to do something, that's what's going to get done.
How long did it take before you got really comfortable running a company, your own business?
I don't know if I have yet.
Okay.
To be honest with you, the comfortability really comes and goes.
Right.
It's an ebb and flow. I mean, I'm comfortable with where we're at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of work on the board, and we're scheduled out for quite a few weeks now, and so that lifts the weight off your shoulders a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to plan for the slow seasons that are coming here soon. So winter months tend to die down, and once you get into January, February, March, those are typically slower times of the year. And so as a new business owner, you start trying to figure out how you're going to make that work and how you're going to spread out these times of prosper into the times that are going to be slower. And
Right.
And so it's but it's very rewarding, owning your own company.
Could you see yourself ever going back?
No.
Okay.
No, after starting my own company, I realized that a lot of the things that hindered me working for someone else was the constant like nagging in the back of my head. How are they going to think about? How is the owner of this company going to feel about the way this was done, or are they going to disagree with the approach that I took? And like the last company I worked for, it was like, oh well, we really should have done it like this, and oh, we only needed number 3 rebar instead of number 4, and then I'm trying to explain myself and like my background and my experience and explain. No, this is what I know is the right way to go, and
Right.
so now I can just use all the knowledge I've gained over the years and know that I'm right in most situations, and I have the opportunity to continue to grow my
Right.
knowledge. Constantly evolve and learn new products that are coming out, new things that are solving new solutions that are solving old problems. It's fun. It's exciting.
Speaking of that, does the state require you to have continuing education or upgrade, like a certification of any kind or something like that?
No, so the state of Texas doesn't really require any licensing.
Okay.
Now, city to city some cities require permits.
Okay.
And with those permits, they have certain specifications that they require as far as the type of rebar or steel that they use in the concrete, the thickness of the concrete, the PSI of the concrete, which is the pounds per square inch that the concrete can withstand. So, I mean, mainly permits are the standards that we're withheld to on projects. Some cities don't care. They just fix the pothole, please.
Right.
They want all the properties to look nice and neat, and so they'll drive through properties and say, hey, you got these potholes, get them fixed. Don't really care how you fix them, just fix them.
Right.
And so,
So basically, if you're a customer, you need to do your due diligence on finding the right type of paving company that has the experience and knows what they're doing, because it seems like anybody could say they're a paving company, but they might not have good knowledge, if they're not well versed in any of all this stuff that you're talking about, I guess.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I've always joked about 2 chucks in a truck, and you pay for what you get, and I try to be as competitive as possible with my pricing. But you'll have somebody go into an asphalt parking lot and replace the asphalt with concrete, and it just blows my mind, because you can't tie concrete into asphalt. It's just floating, and I know within a matter of months that's going to be a failure.
Okay.
And,
wow. Okay.
And so, but the property manager doesn't know that, and unless you educate them on that, and you're able to give them that insight, they'll never know, because they don't have the time to.
So explain what you just said about the asphalt and the concrete. Like, how does that dynamic work, and what should be done as opposed to what is done sometimes?
Sure. So, most parking lots are either all asphalt or they're all concrete.
Right.
And then you'll find some parking lots that were originally concrete, and then somewhere along the way the building owner was ready to sell, but he didn't want to spend the money to fix all the broken concrete. So he just overlays it with asphalt, and the asphalt looks nice and smooth and new. So there's several things that have to come into play when you're looking at all those different issues. So there are companies that are strictly concrete companies. They don't have the ability to do asphalt. So they'll sell a client on, oh yeah, we'll fix this pothole. We'll just come in here, cut a square out, and we'll just put concrete in there. Or asphalt, you can't dial into it with rebar. It'll break apart.
Okay.
It's actually a flexible material.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only as solid as what you put it on. Whereas concrete, the rebar, depending on the size of rebar you use, actually holds the concrete together. And so if you just put concrete surrounded by asphalt, there's nothing to hold that concrete into the surrounding asphalt. So that concrete's essentially floating. And so our soils here in Texas, as they swell and shrink, the rain causes the clays to swell,
Mm-hmm.
will push that concrete up, and then the dry seasons will cause it to dry out, creating a void underneath. You get somebody driving over that. Now that's going to settle back down. The other issue with that is that the joint that you have now created will more than likely hold water, which is the worst case scenario for asphalt because it deteriorates it much faster. And so the edges start to break off.
Okay. Wow.
And so anytime you see an asphalt parking lot, and you can tell the difference between an asphalt parking lot because it's typically black or gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so anytime you see an asphalt parking lot and somebody's gone in there and poured concrete, you know that person was probably, one, got the job because they're the cheapest bid, and two, didn't have the long-term interest of their client in mind. Whereas when I look at that parking lot, I can see that, okay, here's the asphalt, here's the pothole, it's cracking in this small region, but I also see that there's settling going on outside of that. So the real repair is outside of it so that I can get the subgrade, recompact that subgrade, and make this whole section better. And then when I put my new asphalt on top of it, that whole area is solved, not just that one pothole.
Right.
A lot of what we'll see, and which saddens me, is that a property manager will spend the money to have the cracks, the potholes fixed, but it's limited to this very tight area around what is seen as the issue, but the underlying issue is usually much larger than that. So not having the wherewithal, not having the experience to know that there's more going on than just what meets the eye on the surface. And so you get a lot of people that go in, get a very cheap bid to fix asphalt, and then now that client is having to spend more money next year to fix not only around that repair, but more than likely fix part of that repair that they paid for last year.
Right.
And so that's one of my key focuses, is that I don't want my clients to have to repeatedly spend money on the same areas. So I'm solution oriented. I want to make sure that when we go and address an issue, that we're addressing the entire issue, and that next year you're not going to have to worry about it. The next year you're not going to have to worry about it. Yeah.
So basically it's the soil, concrete reinforced with rebar, and then asphalt. But if you don't do it properly, because of this changing soil, you could create pockets in the layers, and then that could be filled with water that causes even more erosion, I guess.
Sure,
Right.
yeah. So typically you'll either have an asphalt parking lot or a concrete parking lot.
Oh, okay. It's one or the other. Okay.
One or the
All right.
other.
All right.
Unless the owner decided to sell and he wanted it do an overlay with asphalt, which is a cheap alternative to fixing the concrete the proper way, because then it's just putting a Band-Aid over it.
Right.
Makes it looks nice. When he goes to sell the property, now it's the new owner's problem.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So another thing I typically don't recommend, and so, or never recommend. But yeah, so your subgrade is typically your most important part, especially here in Texas.
And that's concrete, the subgrade?
The subgrade would be the dirt that's underneath the concrete or asphalt. And here in Texas, it's mainly made up of clay.
Okay.
And so clay swells when it's wet and it shrinks when it's dry. And that swelling and shrinking causes voids underneath the concrete. And that void allows when you drive over it for that concrete to be pressed down.
So you'll get uneven concrete, basically.
Right.
Okay.
And that'll cause the concrete to crack, which will allow more moisture down into below the concrete into that subgrade, which increases the swelling and shrinking during the wet months and summer months. And over time, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Right.
So the key to fixing both concrete and asphalt is to get to that underlying problem, which is a sub base, and fix it the right way. So 99% of the time what we're doing is we're removing it down to that sub base, taking out any of the soft material we find, replacing that with what's called flex base or crushed concrete, which we hydrate and compact, and it's solid light concrete almost. And so it's also porous, so it doesn't hold water. Then we come back with now that we have a solid base to work off of, and then we pour the concrete or lay the asphalt on top of that. So the key to any solid repair is to get to the underlying problem, which is 99% of the problem, or 99% of the time, the subgrade.
I see. So is it safe to say that other parts of the country without this clay, they don't have this issue as much?
Yeah, I mean, when you get up into other areas, I can't speak to other areas, but I would imagine up north they don't have to worry as much about fat clays like we do down here in Texas. I would imagine they have more stable subgrades than we do. But they may have other issues that they have to be concerned with, like freeze and thaws. Right. We don't worry about that quite as much in Texas, although we do take precautions to try to mitigate any of that as well. But yeah, so every region of the United States is going to be a little bit different in how they have to approach it. But here in Texas, where we focus, it's typically the subgrade that's causing the issues.
Right.
And even within Texas, there's different regions that are worse than others. You go to Coppell area, Flower Mound area, like all of that area over there is very heavily saturated with fat clays.
What's a fat clay, I guess?
So a fat clay is more clay than sand.
Okay.
And so it will suck up much more moisture. And when it sucks up moisture, it expands much, much more. And so if you've driven through a parking lot in Coppell or a business office building in Coppell, you'll see a lot of movement happening over there. I always joke that those areas keep us in business.
Okay.
Because it's always changing.
Right.
It's always swelling. It's always shrinking. And so to mitigate that, you've got to have an understanding that material needs to be removed, and you need to put in a solid base to replace it. And so, some companies will just remove the concrete. They'll put a plate compactor down on that fat clay and compact that fat clay back down and then pour new concrete on it. Well, they haven't solved the issue. They've repaired the pothole, but there's nothing to say that is not going to fail again within 6 months to a year, because that clay is going to want to swell again. So it's really about addressing the underlying issues that a lot of these property managers don't know, they don't understand.
So either they don't know, or they're being told something else that they believe.
Sure.
And it's not the correct solution, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so, a lot of times I may be underbid on a project, and they'll ask me, a lot of my clients will, try to understand, why am I more expensive than this other guy? And I'm like, well, let me look at what they're saying they're going to do. And then when I realize that they're not addressing that situation, it gives me the opportunity to educate them and just let them know, like, okay, this is why they're able to do this job for cheaper, is because they're going to remove your problem and then give your problem right back to you.
Right.
And I want to remove your problem, address the underlying problem, and then fix it so you don't have to worry about it again.
Right.
So, my goal is to, every year, most of my clients have yearly budgets that they have, and they have an allotment that they can spend each year on their concrete repairs, or on their air conditioning, their roofing, whatever it is, their landscaping. One of my clients just had to cut down a bunch of trees that were got damaged in the winds. So they have this money, pocket of money that they have to spend. And so what I want to do is tell them, okay, this is what it's going to cost to fix your concrete. And then sometimes I don't have all that money to spend on concrete, but I can say, okay, well, with what you have, let's fix this, and let's fix it the right way, so that next year you don't have to come back here and fix this and also these other areas.
Right.
Because this area is going to be taken care of properly.
Right. So tell us, now that you've done this for a while, what's your typical day like as the owner of Two Birds Paving?
Typical day is wake up early. I typically go through any emails that I wasn't able to get to the night before. I run through I work up the estimates and the leads that I ran the day before, which is the properties that I'd looked at and assessed. Work those up, try to get those proposals to my clients, follow up on phone calls, and just follow up on proposals that I have out. There's a lot of just admin work that I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Something I hadn't ever had to do before I was an owner of my own company.
Right.
That's one thing you don't think about before you start, is that you may be really well versed in all of the aspects of the business except for, payroll, like paying yourself, and
Marketing.
Marketing, all these other things that take up your time that you weren't expecting was going to take up your time does. But so trying to catch up on some of those things. A lot of time management has been, come to the forefront of my mind now, where I was scheduled 2 weeks out. I'm looking at these leads. I wake up in the morning, get there early, put out my proposals, follow up on proposals, and I'm back out there looking at leads. Very easy before I started my company.
Yep.
Now I do the same things, but then I'm adding in, okay, well, I've got to check on all these other things. I've got to schedule the jobs. I've got to schedule the concrete for the jobs, or the asphalt for the jobs. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on during the day.
When do you typically finish your day, you think?
I don't think I ever finish a day.
Okay. All right.
In fact, last night I think I was up until about 3 o'clock.
Yep.
You know, we had family over for. We have a group of two of my children, and some of the cousins had birthdays that are all in April, and we've been pushing off having a birthday party for them, and I had planned on doing some work on Sunday. So I wasn't able to do it during the day, so I pushed it off, and then once they all left the house, I was able to sit down and finally get to work, but I was up until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
And I guess that's the part that folks don't really see is the daily grind that you guys go through, right? It's not sexy. It's not, glamorous. It's not, this millionaire entrepreneur flying on jets across the world. It's that daily grind that you got to go through every day, right? Just doing the same thing, getting up, getting your work done, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of trying to focus in on one thing at a time, knowing that you have countless other things that you need to do, and trying to prioritize each one of those things in a hierarchy of what's most important. And to me, it's my clients, and so put them first and what they're needing, because I know that they've got timelines, they've got owners to talk to, so they go on my list first. So once I get through them, then it's on to other things, like typically admin stuff, administration stuff, and then then it's a lot of it starts to be like, okay, well, where do we go from here? What are the other avenues that I haven't branched out to do? Early on in my career, when I was just selling, I was knocking doors and making phone calls and finding new clients, and now that I've started my own business, I find that I have less and less time to do that.
Right.
And it was one of the things I really enjoyed doing is meeting new people and having those conversations, and so trying to prioritize time for that as well has been a struggle. But at the same time, it's prioritizing time with my family as well. So as a business owner, like especially in the beginning, it was very easy for me to just put my headphones on and be in front of my computer and block out what was happening around me with my family. But I realized I was missing out on that aspect of my life. And so now it's like, okay, no, I gotta be a part of this birthday party.
Right.
And if that means staying up until 6 o'clock in the morning and getting 2 hours of sleep before I start my day, so be it. But so I would say being a business owner is rewarding in the fact that you do get to set your own schedules, and when you have the opportunity to make time for your family, you can. And then you get to decide who comes first, and you don't have someone telling you, hey, I need you to go do this, I need you to go do this. You get to decide what's important and decide the morals and the ethics of your company and who you put first. So yeah, it's a lot.
Right. Well, I think that's a perfect end. Best of luck with everything. I mean, we're rooting for you. So
I appreciate it.
But thank you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thanks for having me.